I think everybody got one of these, but if not, they're in the back. You can grab one of those if you want to. Our lesson tonight is called 2020 Worst Year Ever. And I'm sure you're like me, you've heard this many, many times. But the pre-study question there is 2020, and just answer it honestly. We're not looking for, the perfect answer here. Is 2020 the worst year ever? What do you think? Put it out there. Why or why not? Just kind of think about it in your own head. If you don't want to write it down, that's fine. Follow along with me there in the study. It says 2020 worst year ever. You've heard that, haven't you? Maybe even said it. I've heard it from friends. I've heard it on social media. I've seen and heard it parroted from commentator to commentator across all the news outlets. Though we might look at 2020 as the worst year ever, our ancestors might disagree. Sure, frightening things have happened, like my hair. It's definitely changed a lot. But many of those things have happened in the past too, including 1918. We've heard this many times. Everybody talks about the Spanish flu pandemic, which 50 million people died. As I think it was in September, not to discredit the COVID-19 deaths, but I think it was only 800 and some thousand, which is still a lot, don't get me wrong, but just comparison-wise. People died, and then at the end of the World War, which that right there in itself is pretty scary. I don't think anybody in here would be like, let's have a world war. Oh, that sounds great. No, it sounds horrible. So at the end of that, which 20 million people died in that, and 21 million people were injured. That's a lot of stuff. How about the year 536? This is, experts kind of agree this was the worst year ever. 536, they say. I'm sure you might not even have heard of it. That's the year a volcano erupted in Iceland and plunged half the world into total darkness. See if you like this. 24/7 for 18 months. No light, half the world for 18 months. Sounds fun, right? That year, snow fell in summer, crops failed, people starved. That sounds great, right? And a few years later, a massive plague erupted that would lead to the collapse of the Roman Empire. That sounds like a pretty bad year in itself. Yes, 2020 has definitely been stranger than most, but I can't be the only one who notices that seemingly every single year, every tragedy, every celebrity death, every problem that arises in our world today quickly is labeled as the worst ever. Compare this to how many times you hear someone that has said, "This is the best day of my life. This is the best moment of my life. This is the best year ever." You don't hear that very often. Chances are you hear way more negativity in our world. So why is this? Is the world really that evil now compared to years past? Is it just going, since I was a kid, it's the end of times, it's going to happen any moment, the world's ending. Here, look at Revelation, look at all these things happening, and people try to be soothsayers and stuff like that. But how should a Christian look at the year like 2020? How should a Christian look at every single year? Today we'll examine why everything always seems to be beyond horrible, beyond terrible, beyond awful, no good, very, very bad year in our current world, and how a Christian can and should stay above it all. So you see there, the 24 hours, our first point, there's 24-hour news, doom scrolling. That's when you take your phone and you're looking through all social media, and it's just like story after story. Oh, did you hear this bad story? Oh, did you hear this bad story? That's my mom. Did you hear this bad story? Call my mom and you'll hear a bunch of bad news. And you. In the news that shocks no one, it has been proven time and time again by very many outlets that excessive news consumption causes stress. Oh, can you believe that? I remember when I was a kid even, and I didn't even know about research and stuff like that. But my grandma was a very positive person for the most part. You come up and she sees a lot of negativity. And I'm like, did you just watch the news? And as I got older, I realized when grandma watched the news, she'd be very negative afterwards. It's weird how that happens, right? This is called mean world syndrome. There's a term for that. How crazy is that? This is the more time we spend watching TV, the more likely the watcher will view the world as more frightening or dangerous. Think about the last time you watched the news. Maybe it was today. Maybe you follow news on your phone or whatever. Think about how many bad stories are out there. Oh, it just seems like it gets worse and worse. That's weird, isn't it? It seems like it gets worse and worse. I wonder why that is. There's a reason for that. Example, every election, we have an election year coming up, and I've got people from the Trump side messaging me privately on Facebook about 24/7. I have one lady who messages me probably 20 times a day. I have people on my Facebook that are Biden supporters and talking about how dumb Trump supporters are and vice versa, and they're sharing the links. How can you do this? How can you do this? This is the biggest election of our lives. The news says that all the time, right? The biggest election of your lives. Well, I thought the last one was Hillary versus Trump. Well, I remember as a kid, it was the first one I ever voted in. It was Bush versus Gore. That's the biggest election of our. It seems like every election is the biggest one of our lives. That's really weird, isn't it? The age-old belief that civilization is on decline. This is a tradition, folks. This is not something new. It has been happening for decades upon millennia. Even ancient Athenians complained in the 5th century BC that their democracy wasn't what it used to be. This has been happening since the beginning of time. We love to talk about our leadership. We love to talk. Think about if you're in a group and everybody sees the leader. Oh, who do they think they are leading our group? Well, I wouldn't have done it that way. No, you're right. You didn't do anything. So let them lead the way they're supposed to. The news media and government are intertwined. I want you to remember that. The news media and government are intertwined in a vicious circle of mutual manipulation, myth-making, and self-interest. Let's look at Ephesians 4:29. It very much borderlines gossip or is gossip. It crosses completely over. Ephesians 4:29 says, "Let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth." Does it say some unwholesome words? Just a couple unwholesome words. No, none. But only such a word as is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, so that it will give grace to those who hear. You need to build people up. What does the news, what does government do all the time? It tears us down. It takes us apart. I was reading this thing, I think it was in the Harvard Journal, but I think it's pretty cool. This guy wrote, "The U.S. press, like the U.S. government, is a corrupt and troubled institution." Why are you talking about this right now? Because it's very important, because we all do this. We become a negative person, and I'm going to show you why that bleeds into our Christian life. Corporate, not so much, in a sense that it accepts bribes in a systematic sense. It fails to do what it claims to do. Remember, the news was to tell you the news, what it should do, and what society expects it to do. The news media and the government are intertwined in a vicious circle of mutual manipulation, myth-making, and self-interest. Journalists need crises to dramatize news. I'll give you, for instance, when I worked for the news, you got a story. You wanted the dirtiest, filthiest, most horrible story. You know why? Because you're trying to make it in the news business. You don't make it in the news business doing happy stories. Think about how many journalists you know who do happy stories, hard-hitting journalism. That becomes, I only can talk about negative things. So they're looking for a very bad story. And if it's not bad enough, I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to dig deeper. And government officials need to appear to be responding to crises. Think about that. If you have a government official that has no crises, you didn't solve anything. You just sat around and did nothing. Too often the crises are really not crises, but joint fabrications. What they do is they build upon each other. You need crises, we need viewership, let's go with the story. It might be a little bit of truth, but fabrication, very much so. The two institutions have become so ensnared in a symbiotic web of lies that the news media are unable to tell the public what is true, and the government is unable to govern effectively. This is happening in our country all the time. Social media is helping that get pushed forward, the ball kicked further every single day. The news has a term, and it is a news term that is they don't publicize it, but it's called, if it bleeds, it leads. That is the story. If it's horrible, the more horrible it is, that's going to be the first story. That's going to be your breaking news. Oh, that baby was adopted over there. That was a great... No. There's a car wreck down there. You go down there and you cover that car wreck and you get as bloody a footage as you can. because we need to show how horrible our world is, because that brings in viewership. And we're part of this bad, vicious cycle because we feed the beast. Stories of fear and peril pique our anxiety. For some reason, the human psyche, when we hear something bad, whoa, what happened? Maybe it is because I want to help out more, or I want to do something about it, but sometimes it's just, or too often, most of the time, it's just I want to hear this negativity. They put our brains on high alert. We yearn to feel prepared. Think about COVID-19, why it has become such a huge deal. Yes, it is a flu. Yes, it is a bad thing. But why has it become this mega story? Because we've got to talk about it. We talk about it. High alert. I don't want to die. So we become addicted to the updates. What's going on with COVID-19? There's for a while, again, let's pick my mom, but she would tell me, I know how many deaths are in Brooke County. I know how many people have COVID-19 in Brooke County. There's a tracker on your phone. I don't care. No offense. I mean, I care about the people that die or whatever. That's horrible and stuff. But, I don't want to track all this. I don't have a cure for COVID-19 in my back pocket. I can say prayers for them, but I don't have a shot or something I can give them. I can't go in my basement and brew a vaccine because that would just be horrible. We're always addicted to the updates. We need to know what is going on at that moment. Endlessly refreshing social media and online news to stay atop of the latest trends. Coming back for more until the world seems far worse than it's ever been before. Next time you're on Facebook, when you're scrolling through Facebook, think about how your brain is geared afterwards, how much anxiety you have after looking at Facebook. And the problem with this was Facebook, before the phone, was a site to connect friends, long-lost friends. Some of you in here remember long-lost friends. That's something our kids, my future child, will not remember, a long-lost friend, because you can connect with anybody from around the world, seemingly, right? But when we got social media, it was great. I haven't seen these people in 10 years. That's so cool. I haven't seen these people in 20 years. Oh, I wonder what they're up to. And then after a while, that newness wore off, and it just became a breeding ground for more and more bad news. According to a 2017 survey by the American Psychological Association, respondents who kept up with the news reportedly were more stressed. That sounds fun, right? More anxious. Oh, that's horrible. More fatigued, lost sleep, and had more negative mental health symptoms. The same survey found that 1 in 10 check the news every single hour. Some of you were old enough like me to remember before there was 24-hour news. Remember what happened? The O.J. Simpson trial happened. Oh, O.J. Simpson, people are really loving this. 24-hour news. To cover what? The O.J. Simpson trial was one of the biggest dumb fests in the history of mankind. But we were all glued to figure out what was going on. I still remember when it happened. I knew exactly where I was when this whole thing happened. We had just got ESPN for the first time ever. We moved to Sistersville, West Virginia. We were in our new house, and I remember walking down the stairs, and at the time, this might sound weird now, but my mom goes, Nathan! I remember exactly what she said to me. I was little. She said, a football player got in trouble. That's comical now to think about, whose athletes get in trouble all the time, but back then, athletes didn't get in trouble. And I came downstairs, and I looked at the TV and said, O.J. Simpson. The first thing I thought was, man, no more Naked Gun movies. He was in the Naked Gun movies. That's literally what I thought. I didn't know what he did, but then the whole world blew up, and every single person in that, the judge, the attorneys, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. We still remember those stupid phrases because it became huge news. Why? Because the media blew it up. Did it have anything to do with anybody in here? Not one person. Could anybody in here be on the jury? No. Could anybody in here have any connection to it? No. But we were all glued to our TV. And guess what? The sponsors just came flooding in. This 24-hour news is a great idea. The problem is we don't need 24-hour news. We don't need to be connected all the time. I can help what happens in Beirut. I can pray for those people, but now we have social media where you have a phone, you have every single thing covered. There's a tragedy over there. I've got 45 different angles, 50 million pictures. I feel like I'm there. But I feel helpless because I can't do anything about it or what the world thinks. We can pray for it. 20% of Americans constantly monitor social media for updates. Do you have that thing on your phone now? It says how much hours you spend on your screen time. Boy, that makes you puke, doesn't it? In a day? Oh, I do social media for a living, so mine's like 4 hours and 55 minutes a day. Whew. Makes you realize I have 24 hours and I've spent 5 of them on my phone looking at a screen. Oh. Now think about, too, when you look at the screen. Think about when people are driving, texting and driving. Why is that bad? Because they're so involved in their phone, they don't know what's going on around them. Think about walking and looking at your phone. How many times have you tripped over something, run into something, run into somebody, because we're so engrossed in what is in here. We're eating up what they are selling. Social media has warped into seemingly never-ending source of the dire present. How many people share the exact same news story when a celebrity dies? The need to have something to talk about. Conversation, they keep saying, in all the circles that I see, conversation is a dead or dying art. Why? Because everybody texts you what they want to say. Conversation, person to person, you try to talk to people that can't make eye contact with you. They have a tough time communicating. I know after I work on my computer all day, I come out and I try to have a conversation with somebody. I'm like, just give me a second because I have to, my brain, it just takes a minute to like go from here to like shift gears and say, okay, words, you're conversing with somebody, say what you want to say. It's tough to do. But I grew up in a world where you had conversations, many of them. Imagine these future generations that are having a tough time with it because we're doing everything through the phone. Look at James 1:26. James 1:26 says, "If anyone thinks himself to be religious and yet does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion is," what? "Worthless." When you just want to talk and talk, we all have those friends on social media, and we might be one of those people in here. And if you are one of those people, I caution you to do it. I used to be one of those people, talk on the internet all the time. Everything is an update. You get caught up in the wheel, pictures and words, and every single day I got to tell people what you're doing, because that's what social media was at the beginning. It was fun, and then after a while it starts wearing off. Like, I don't want everybody to know where I'm at all times. I don't care about these people. These are not even really my friends. They're kind of just acquaintances. Why do they need to know every single thing I'm doing all the time? What was the famous thing when Instagram came out? It was, take a picture of your food. This is what I'm eating today. This is what I'm eating today. This is what I'm eating. I mean, how many people have got annoyed with somebody like, I don't want to see your baby anymore. I don't want to see your food pictures. We have those friends. We all know it. I don't care. We get away from the happy things. We don't want the happy things. We want when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, I mean, probably 70 to 80 people immediately shared it that I saw on Facebook, and I'm like, this is all this news feed is. It's just about her. Like, okay, yep, I understand she died. Okay, we all die. I don't know what else you want me to say, but everybody has to be first to do it. Everybody has to be quick to share it. It's no wonder that the past looks rosy. I remember growing up, and even to this day, people go, oh, this generation, your generation's terrible. You're not going to have this, and you're not going to have this. And I was talking to my cousin the other day, and he's like, oh, this new generation, this generation. Oh, the new generation's always bad. The old generation's always right. It's no wonder the past looks rosy when all we have is so much data on the current tribulation of the world at our fingertips. It does look horrible. This is another term. It's called rosy retrospection or nostalgia bias. We all suffer from this at some point. People already have a propensity to interpret present events negatively. Everything that's happening now is horrible. But everything in the past, do you remember how great it was in the 80s? Oh, the 80s were just great. You weren't alive in the 80s? Oh, you missed out. The 80s were awesome. The 80s had tons of problems. We had the war on drugs. Drugs were rampant all over the place. Corruption was at an all-time high. There was a ton of stuff, and I was just a child. It was not as great as people say it was. We tend to prefer the past. That is because our autobiographical memories are biased towards positivity. When we think about the past, we tend to remember positive experiences. This guy, Kerry Morwedge, says, we're judging the past on its greatest hits, but we judge the present on everything we have available. It's very easy to see the past and say, this was awesome, this was awesome, this was awesome, and forget this was horrible and this was horrible. And all these bad moments that led to those awesome moments, we don't think about those. We think about, oh, the awesome moments. Oh, you remember that? That was great. That was great. This new generation is the worst ever. Don't say that, because someone said it about you guys. Why don't you help the generation out next? Why don't you try to help them? They couldn't be born in the 60s or the 50s or whatever generation you're from, or the 70s or the 80s. They're born right now. They can't go back in time. They can't change that. So try to help them out and don't just belittle them. So how do we get past this stuff? How do we get past this negativity? I tried to lay a foundation for you there to realize that every single person in here, and myself included, we all do this. We all welcome the negativity. So how do we get past this? Well, one thing, I remember this lady that I used to teach with, Mrs. Brindley. She had a kind of a rough time with certain things in her life, and some of her kids were having a rough time and things, and she just started saying this phrase over and over again. She goes, just let go and let God. Let go and let God. She said it over and over and over again, and I always loved that phrase, and I loved how she said it, because she truly said, you got to let go, and you got to let God handle it. Let's look at Jeremiah 29:11. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. God says that right there. Are you telling God he's a liar when you sit there and you go, oh, I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is awful. God says, I have plans for what? Welfare, not for calamity. I'm going to take care of you, he says. Time and time again in the Bible. You will be taken care of. Just chill out. Calm down. Quit worrying about things. How many times does it say that in the Bible? Let go and let God. Stop worrying about things you can't control. One of my favorite verses in the entire Bible. I've said it a million times up here. So do not worry about tomorrow, there in Matthew 6:34. For tomorrow will care for itself. For each day has enough trouble of its own. Stop worrying about things you cannot control. You cannot worry about tomorrow or the next day or the next day. Well, I have this or I have this. It doesn't matter. You can control where you're at right now. How many times are we in church and we're looking at our phones, or we're thinking about different things? We're like, oh, okay. Be fully present, not just in church, in your conversations with people. Put your phone away. Turn the TV off. I used to hate it when I went to my mother-in-law's house and we'd go to eat. We always eat Monday dinner. We always get together, and she fixes, if you know Denise, it's like a whole army's coming. There's like 5 of us, and it's like, eat more, eat more. But she'd always have the news in the background, and it would just drive me nuts. I'm like, I don't want to hear it, because it just bleeds into your conversation. You started feeling the conversation shift. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this politician? Did you hear about this crisis? Did you hear about this? Did you hear about this? I don't want to hear it. I want to be fully present with you right now. I want to learn about your interest. I want to learn about who you are as a person. I remember when this church split, I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I don't know a lot of the people that I even worship with. I've been coming here since 8th grade. I was like 21, 22. And I really didn't even remember people's first names, let alone their last names. I didn't know them. I didn't know them on an individual basis. I didn't know them on a friendship basis. So I said, if you want this church to succeed, you've got to put something in it. So I started standing in the back. That's why I still stand in the back to this day, years and years later. And not only do I stand in the back, I think of everybody in here, I tried to talk to you. Not because I just want you to talk or something. It's because I'm truly interested in you as a person. My daughter's middle name is Lou, after Lucille, one of the people that worshiped with us here, that I met here and became one of my greatest friends in this world. One of my greatest influences in my lifetime. I named my daughter after her. That's how important it was. Because I invested myself, and I put my phone down, I put the TV off, and I had a genuine conversation with her. I remember Lucille telling me one time we went to a Pirates game. She said, no one really likes to talk to me anymore. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older or people just don't like baseball or just talking about books or life. It just made me think about this poor lady who had so much experience and it's such an interesting, captivating woman, and people were just blowing her off because they were so, yep, okay, yeah, Grandma, what, yeah, okay, So busy. We're so busy, we're unfocused. We're bouncing around like a ping pong ball all over the place because we have 40 conversations going on at once. Have one conversation. Throw this thing to the curb. We worry about death, don't we? Oh my. I'm going to die someday. I used to worry about it as a kid. I would sweat at night. I would get night terrors. I would wake up like, I'm going to die. I was like 6 or 7 years old, worried about this. It controlled my life. I couldn't get sleep. I would worry about it night and day. Well, guess what? The reality is, we all have an expiration date. We're all going to die. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to embrace that. Because guess what? Whether you embrace it on this life or not, it's still going to happen to you. So stop worrying about it. What did we say earlier? For I have plans for you, declares the Lord. Plans for what? Welfare. That does not just include this life. That mostly includes after this life. Because Jesus and God are not focused on this life. They are focused after this life is finished. Death is a major anxiety. We're obsessed with the world and living in it forever. I've got to embrace it. YOLO! Seize the day. I've got to fit 28 hours in a 24-hour time limit. I've got to do every single thing. I've got to see every country. I've got to go to every place on this earth. I've got to have a bucket list, and I've got to finish all that before I die. Why? Who's keeping score? Who's the referee in this game? Who are you trying to appeal to? I invited a lot of people to church tonight, and a couple people came, and I thanked them for that. A lot of people did not. Most of the responses I got back from people, I got a lot going on. Oh, I got a lot going on. Oh, my kids are visiting. Oh, you can bring them. Oh, no, I got something else going on. Oh, I got something else. Got a lot of stuff happening. I'm not just saying here at church, folks, and saying, oh, you have to come hear Nathan preach. I'm saying stop having a lot going on at all times and start focusing on the here and now, because that's when you truly start to live. I love Tuesdays with Morrie. Anybody who knows me knows I love that book. The truth, he says, is once you learn how to die, you learn how to live. That's a great quote. It's a biblical practice. It's a biblical thing, but he just puts it in layman's terms. Once you learn to die, you learn to live. When you let go and realize that death is going to happen to me sooner than later, I realize that I'm okay with it. And I'm going to appreciate today. You know what they found out? That you don't need to do all these exotic and crazy things. If you had one more day on this earth, you had one more day to spend with people, you would eat your favorite meal. You would spend time talking, not looking at your phone. You would eat dinner together. Think about if your loved ones came to dinner right now and they had passed away, right? You came to dinner, I guarantee every one of us would be tempted to look at our social media. Oh, they're here for 24 hours. I just got to check Facebook real quick. Oh, my fantasy football scores. 24 hours. I don't think any of us could concentrate long enough to appreciate that. That's sad to think about, isn't it? Look at 1 John 2:15 through 17. Do not love the world or anything in the world, for anyone who loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. That's pretty harsh. If you love the world, the love of the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. Why do you invest so much in this world when it is going to be gone? It doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, I love video games, but I kind of got away from playing video games unless I'm playing with somebody. Because I used to sit there and play like season after season of Madden football. If anybody plays games a lot, I love Madden football. And I'd be like, yeah, I won the championship. I won 2 championships. I won 4 championships. I'm like, and I feel so guilty at like 20 years old. I'm like, I just spent all day like winning 4 Madden championships, and that means nothing to nobody ever. It doesn't even really mean anything to me. What did I just do with my entire day? Why invest your time in stupid stuff? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with video games. I'm just saying. Hebrews 2:14-15. Since the children have flesh and blood, he too shared in their humanity, so that his death he might break the power of him who holds the power of death. That is the devil. Who holds the power of death? The devil. Why are we afraid of death? The devil. Say it with me. Think it in your head. The devil. The devil is in your head when you're thinking about death, and you're obsessed with death, and you're having a tough time with death. The devil is the one saying, yeah, you're going to end. It's all going to be over. What if God's not real? What's going to be on the other side? Nothing. There's nothing. I talk to my atheistic friends. It's just like an animal. You come and you live, and then you die. What a hopeless and pathetic life. Why do you even care to live? It's so much more than that. Do not be afraid of death. 1 Corinthians 15:54 says, but when this perishable will have put on the imperishable, and this mortal will put on immortality, then will come about the saying that is written, death swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? Death should have no power over a Christian, period. The truth is, Jesus can raise the dead, and what did he do? He also rose from the dead. If Jesus had power over death, do you think he will not have power over your death? He refers to death as sleep all the time. Yes, there is a painful sleep. Cancer's terrible. Car wrecks are terrible. I work at a grief center, as many of you know. What's one of the biggest reasons people die? Car wrecks. Car wrecks. People are not expecting it at all. A car wreck. They take tons of people every year, these car wrecks do. That's a horrible way to go. It's a horrible death. I was talking to a guy one time, and he was talking about whitewater rafting. He said he knows his neighbor was whitewater rafting with his family. He flipped the boat, got his foot, this is at the Youghiogheny, not far from here, got his foot stuck under a rock, the guy did, and he drowned there. What a horrible way to go. Just out with a day with your family and to have something like that happen. Death has no power over a Christian, though. Yes, it hurts. I'm not saying you shouldn't feel pain. I'm not saying that you shouldn't grieve. I'm not saying those things. I'm saying that we cannot let death worry us sick. It does nothing, folks. There's nothing that can come from that. Jesus can raise the dead. He can come back from the dead. Are you really so short-sighted to believe that death is the end? Are you a Christian that sits there and kind of in the back of your mind say, yeah, I'm really afraid of death, though. I'm afraid that when I die, I was thinking about, okay, this is kind of a little bit personal, but it is what it is. So I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about when Shannon and I most likely will go first. I'm the older one, so most likely. But I think about this, and you think about like death, and I have thought about it many times, and it's really weird to think about. So when I die, what if it's like a split second? And then there's my wife right beside me. What if there's just a split second and all of you are right beside me? Because time over there is totally different than it is here. We think, oh, when I die, my loved ones aren't going to be around for hundreds of years and things like that. Split second. God can do anything. Time on this earth is very different than time in heaven. Meet you on the other side. We serve a monarchy. Think about this. If you're a Christian, you serve God, which is a king. But we live in a democracy, and I use that loosely. So we have this tough time, because when our government, when our society is not doing what we want it to do, well, they need to do what God wants it to do. What's a democracy? They don't always serve God. Oh, they said back, it says on my coin, in God we trust. Well, I hate to tell you, that's not the world we live in today. I always say this and people get so mad at me, but America will come and go. Note that. Every single empire has come and gone. America will come and go. Are you worried about America? or are you worried about being a Christian? Are you serving God, or are you serving America? I'm not saying America's a horrible place, and I'm not saying don't be an American and renounce your American citizenship. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, where do you have more faith? In the President of the United States? Or do you have more faith in God? If Joe Biden gets elected, I just don't know what I'll do. You better come to church. You better go out and preach God, because guess what? There's a whole plan laid out that every single day what you should do, no matter who's in charge. I'm going to move to Canada. What did everybody say? If Trump wins, I'm going to move to Canada. Then no one moved. Do your ideas and beliefs about God match what he says about himself? What does he say about himself? Revelation 21:6. God refers to himself. Then he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the first and last, the beginning and the end. I will give to the one who is thirst from the spring of water of life with no cost." He refers to himself as that. Thank you to Danny for reading that very long reading, but it's great. Job 38, he just kind of slaps Job in the face. Job has had this terrible, terrible time. And he says, "Look at me. I'm God. I am the God that made the stars. I control everything in the world. And you're telling me about your problems? I control everything. When you're with me, what? I have a plan for you for welfare. Yeah, it might seem a little bit sticky right now. Think about it in your own life. Anything that's worthwhile has required some risk. Risk, reward. You ever hear that terminology? Every single thing you've ever had in your life that you've accomplished, that you're proud of, I guarantee there was some pain, there was some sweat, there were some tears. Because that's when you know it's worth it. However, this king that we serve, is not a king that is trying to belittle you or hate you. He knows your name. Not only knows your name, he knows every hair on your head, knows every single thing about you. And he cares so much for you that he gave his son to die on the cross. I'm really busy, God. I appreciate that, sending Jesus here to die for my sins, but I'm really busy and I got a lot of other things to do. I was telling my wife today, it's like life insurance. I don't have to worry about that right now. Oh, you always put off life insurance until it's too late, right? I really should get life insurance. So you always think about that? Like, I really should get life insurance. I need to get life insurance. I need to inquire about life insurance. And you never do. It's the same thing with God. I'm going to serve God someday. I'll come back. One day I'll do it. One day never comes. Pray about your specific worry. Look at 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. Rejoice always and pray without ceasing. How do you do that? You constantly pray. We were working on our house the other day. We painted our shutters. Had some great help. My dad came out. We killed a bat accidentally. It was a fun day. We spray painted the shutters. It looks like our house looks totally different. I go back there and I say a quick prayer to God. I'm so thankful that I have such good help, such good people that will come over and help me out, because not everybody has it. I look at my neighbors and see it's one guy that has a tough time. He tried to make his flower beds real nice, and he went out there and he drank a beer, put his bags down to put the plants down, and 4 months later, there's just a bunch of bags down still. Nothing's ever come. I don't say that to belittle the guy. It's just I'm so grateful that I have people that want to help me out and help me get through these things. But I wanted to pray to God and say thank you. You don't have to have this long diatribe with God every time. Thank him for everything. Thank him for today. Thank him for your family. Thank him for the blessings you have, which you have so, so many. And quit focusing on all this crazy stuff in the world. Talk to God about your specific worry-related habit. Fear, discouragement, impatience. Ask him for his help. Look at Psalms 55:22. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never allow the righteous to be shaken. Focus on your relationship with God. Marlo, my dog, is so good. She has these little buddies, these little squeak things. And it's so amazing, her laser focus. She's just a small little 5.6-pound dog. Imagine this. You squeeze that thing. Her eyes are locked on that little buddy toy. She's following it everywhere. That's the way we need to be with God. Your eyes, your body, your soul need to be focused on God. And nothing can distract you from that. Nothing can distract you from serving God. Do you have that focus? Or are you just like, I don't know where I'm at. I'm lost. This world's confusing. I'm scared. And realizing something bad happens to you and your loved ones, God is still in control. Look at Isaiah. Look at Isaiah 35 and 4. Isaiah 35 and 4. It says, say to those with anxious heart, that's me. I have an anxious heart. I suffer from anxiety. I have a tough time with it. I had anxiety today, trying to help Patience's kids out of those cars. We locked them in there, and it was like trying to put that little get down lock. Dan was out there again. I'm like, just a couple more inches. And Iris is crying, and Emily's starting to cry, and I'm like, come on, just push the button. Ugh, and it slid off there. It's like, my anxiety was out of control. I'm the one with an anxious heart. Say to those with an anxious heart, take courage, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance. The recompense of God will come, but he will save you. It's coming, folks, at some point. Whether we'll be around for the end of time or we won't be. It could be thousands of years from now. It's the end of days. I know because I'm on this earth and it's the end of days. It could be 10,000 years from now. You have no clue. This is not even Jesus knows. So to have the audacity to think that you understand and can devise when God is coming back is a stupid waste of time. So get over that and start worrying about other things that are more important. Last thing here. Be more like children. I think people don't realize we have so many examples of children here that are just so innocent and wonderful and so fun to watch. And if you have not talked to these children or played with these children, I don't know what you're missing out. They're really fun kids. We're so blessed. And you can learn from the children. Oh, I can't learn anything from the children. They should learn from me. No, you should learn from the children. It says in Matthew 18, 1-4, at the time the disciples came to Jesus and said, who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And he called a child to himself and set him before them and said, truly I say to you, unless you are converted and become like children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself as a child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. When's the last time you heard a child say, 2020 is the worst year ever, huh? 3-year-old come up to you, 2020, huh? It's terrible. I don't know why a baby with a cigar, like when I say it. Like, we do this as we get older. Do you understand this? We bring this onto ourselves. I always tell people, it's fine. You can never grow up. Just pay your bills and be responsible. That's basically all you have to do. Yeah, I'm not telling you you have to go out and you have to be this, I'm an adult. I'm an adult. You know, one of the things we talk about at the Grief Center is people used to say, no kids are allowed to go to funerals because kids don't grieve. Oh, shut up. That's my granddad. Oh, you're 4 years old. You don't cry or you don't care. You didn't know him for 40 years like I did. You don't grieve. You don't understand. Don't we do that? We just miss other people. Children are a lot more complex and a lot more interesting than we think they are. Enjoy the little things in life. For one day you'll look back and realize they were the big things. This church out there helping, getting Danny and Ken and Dan and all those guys, getting these kids out of the car this morning. I was just thinking, we're going to laugh about this very soon because we're telling Iris, like, honey, just hit your button. Just hit your button. All you got to do is hit your button, and then you can get her. And in our heads, we're thinking, that just makes sense. All you got to do is hit her button, and she can get out of the seat, and she can unlock the door. We're like trying to, and she's just like, I just want to take a nap. And you're thinking, someday we're going to laugh about this with her, and she's like 18, 19 years old. But right now, it's just like, oh my. Enjoy the little things, even those things. They'll be funny someday. Don't buy what the world is selling. Rediscover your innocence. I cannot tell people that enough. Please rediscover your innocence. The world just puts this, it's almost like a backpack of just negativity on you. And I've seen people who are Christians and people that just seem so innocent. And especially when they go to college, it seems like. And they go to college and you know, this kid is very wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, they say. And it just seems like the weight of the world just gets put on freshman year, sophomore year, junior year. Senior year. Oh, I hate everything. I'm so confused. What do I want to be? I'm so lost. I'm making fun of myself. I was like that. Just wears you down because you invest so much into the world and you forget to invest in God. God wants us to be innocent. He wants us to be like children. I was talking to Lydia the other day about losing your imagination. I said, don't ever lose your imagination. I remember losing my imagination very vividly. And I remember getting it back my sophomore year in college. I'm like, wait, you can get your imagination back? If you can't get on the floor and play with your kids or laugh with your kids. I mean, look at Les. He's 85 years old and he's out there playing with kids. He's not that old. But he's got a childlike spirit. Him and Kathy are a beautiful couple because they just have that childlike spirit. It just seems like not a care in the world, right? But they do. They have their problems. But they don't let them burden them down. They're innocent. Train yourself to smile. That sounds weird, right? Train yourself to smile. I know some people that can't even smile. I can go through life and I remember, I don't think I've seen some people ever smile in their life. I'm like, how have I known you for all this long and I've never seen you smile? Like, come on, it's all right to smile. I'm an adult. I'm serious. I'm black and white. I have a briefcase. That's what I was thinking of an adult. Smile. Proverbs 15:30 says it in the Bible. Bright eyes gladden the heart. Good news puts fat on the bones. Proverbs 17:22. A joyful heart is good medicine. If you're happy, you live longer. Oh, I'm worried about dying. Well, smile. Enjoy life, and you'll live longer. It's proven. But a broken spirit dries up bones. Proverbs 15:13-15. A joyful heart makes a cheerful face. Why can't I smile? Because you're not cheerful inside. You're not happy inside. Be happy. It's all right to be happy. But when the heart is sad, the spirit is broken. Your spirit is broken. A Christian is happy. A Christian is on cloud nine. Why? Because you have eternity with God. You understand that fully. Will you have bad days? Yes. Will you have bad moments? Yes. But you don't let those moments ruin your life. You don't let you're driving in a car and someone flip you off and you go, oh, it's the worst day ever. This guy cut me off and then he flipped me off and I tell you what, if I saw that guy, I would punch a hole through his head. And you worry about it all day. 2 weeks later, there's a guy that flipped me off. Okay. He really got to you. You worried about that way too long. Move on. It's not worth it. I always sing this song to myself. I always think it's pretty cool. Charlie Chaplin, you remember him? I'm going to do 3 songs then here. I'm not going to sing them. You don't get that honor. I'm just going to do the words because they're important. There's 3 songs I always think in my head. I really like these 3. But Smile is a big one. Charlie Chaplin was such an interesting guy. He was a silent film actor. He's kind of that dopey guy we have there, and he's like always getting into mischief and whatnot. But he didn't really ever speak on camera too much. He was a little bit before that time as a silent film actor. But he did help write a song, which is called Smile, and I just love this song. And I always think of it. And the lyrics go like this: smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile through your fear and sorrow. Smile, and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worth living if you just smile. Great words. It's okay to smile. It's okay to be happy. You should be happy. There's another song, some of you guys know this one too much. Frozen 2, actually, that's one of my favorite movies ever. It's great. Frozen 1, don't get me started, I don't like that one. Frozen 2, great. But there's a song in there that really gets me every time, and it's called The Next Right Thing. You guys know this one probably, some of you have kids. But this girl loses everything. She thinks she's lost her sister to death. She thinks she's lost her best friend, one of her best friends to death. She thinks everything is dark. And sadly, there's a lot of people in this world that are dealing with a ton of grief. There's a lot of people in this world that are dealing with a ton of sadness. There's a lot of people dealing with a lot of burdens, all of us in here. And sometimes you just feel trapped, and it just feels like the darkness is just surrounding you, and there's just nothing you can do about it, right? You're so lost, you're so confused. What I love about this song is, again, the lyrics just say, I've seen dark before, but not like this. This is cold. You ever feel like that? This is empty. This is numb. I have no emotion. The life I knew is over. The lights are out. Hello, darkness, I'm ready to succumb. I follow you around. I always have, but you've gone to a place I cannot find. This grief has gravity. It hurts. It pulls me down. I was so happy. It pulls me down. But a tiny voice whispers in my mind, you are lost. Hope is gone. But you must go on and do the next right thing. Do the next right thing. I love that terminology. When you're lost, when you're confused, think of that. Just do the next right thing. Well, who makes up the rules? God established the rules years and years and years and years ago. He says, if you do these things, you'll have a great life. And not only will you have a great life, you'll have eternity too. Did he say you have a perfect life? No. He said you have a great life. So when it feels like the world is crashing down and things are happening, I know I haven't lost my parents yet, but people say that's a very tough thing, and I know it'll be tough for me. And I know I haven't lost a spouse yet, but I know that would be tough. And I know I haven't lost a child. I hope I never do. But I know that would be tough, and I know people go through that. But no matter what happens on this earth, and I'm telling this, so if I ever watch this in the future on YouTube or whatever, I'm reminding myself, Nathan at 38 years old, remind yourself at 65 if you're there, just do the next right thing. Sometimes it's all we can do in life. You just take one step forward. So today, if you're having a tough time, you've had difficult in your life, there's another one last song. It says, the ground is level at the foot of the cross. And what that means is if you look in James 1, 9 through 10, it says, but the brother of the humble circumstances is to glory in his high position, and the rich man is to glory in his humiliation, because like flowering grass, he will pass away. And this song basically says that no matter who you are, no matter what status you have in life, when you come to God, when you come to Christ, the ground is level. There's nobody who's higher and nobody who's lower. When Richard had that great example today and came forward, it was all of us. Richard, we all struggle, man. And it's tough. But the humility in his heart to do that. The thankfulness in his heart to do that. That's a great example for all of us to learn. The little song goes like this. I'll leave it at that. You may own earth's silver, have riches untold, but all of earth's wealth, my friend, won't save your soul. You may live in a mansion, all the world knows your name. Oh, you're the most famous person in the world. But at the foot of the cross, my friend, everyone stands the same. The ground is level at the foot of the cross. Anyone may come there, for there is no cost. Rich man or poor man, bonded or free, the ground was leveled that day at Calvary. And Jesus has made it all equal for us. We're all brothers and sisters here. If you've never been baptized, I implore you to do so tonight. Be baptized. If you're having problems in your life and you need prayers, you can come forward. You can raise your hand, whatever it is. We will pray for you, and we will embrace you because we love you, as I hope you all love me. So what plan can you put in place to make 2020 better? With all this sickness, with all this dying, with all these crazy things happening, you do the next right thing today. From this moment, I was talking to Caleb and Amber today, and we were talking about diets. Don't say, I'm going to go, and if the new year hits, I'm going to go on a diet. No, if you really are serious about diet, you go on it now. If you're really serious about God, you turn to him now. Not tomorrow. Not 3 weeks from now. Not when 2021 hits. If you're really serious about being a Christian, you'll be positive through everything. You'll be a shining light so your neighbors and your friends go, why is that guy or girl so happy all the time? There are so many bad things in the world because you're not buying it. Because you have your faith in God. So please come forward now if you need any of those help.